Welcome ZZZ Brockies, it's your boy Josh. Unfortunately, I was not able to get early access to Hoshimi Miyabi, but what that does mean is that we now have full extensive knowledge on all theory crafting and gameplay at my disposal. And I'm here to give you the final, definitive guide for Hoshimi Miyabi with a special M6 showcase. So Josh, what else are we going to get out of this video, you may ask? Well, we're going to answer your questions regarding her build construction, build variations, team synergies, team alternatives, and of course, playstyle and attack rotations. Because building the character is only half of it. We are going to learn some quirks that make this quirky Void Hunter one of the best in the business. But before we begin, make sure to comment below if you've already resigned to polling for Miyabi, and look out for our poll session giveaway tonight that will be announced on Twitch as a release of this video on YouTube. So make sure to drop on by our live to watch us poll, build, and go through ZZZ's 1.4 story quests. Let's first start off with Miyabi's kit overview. Hoshimi Miyabi brings to the table a new concept that I think all high-class variations of characters, including the Void Hunters, will all have. Corruption. Corruption, much like to the very concept of corruption with Ether Anomaly, is the literal corruption of the element, in this case, ice. Miyabi's ice has been altered into a new form, frost. It's so cold, it's fire, and Miyabi's flashy kit reflects how fiery her attacks can be, with an amazing 5 basic auto chain, which the last 3 are absolutely visually stunning, the best attack animations we've seen in a game thus far. But she also belongs to the slash class of character, meaning when she is in dash form, she can deflect projectiles, which is insanely useful for fending off pellets of small instances of damage, easily racked up in higher end content like Tower or any of the difficult game modes. Miyabi's core ability, Searing Cold, is how she's able to bring together all offensive aspects of Zenless Zone Zero into one cohesive and well-crafted buff. While dealing her frost damage, she will allow for greater accumulation of frost anomaly buildup. This, when hitting the attribute anomaly, will apply freeze, shatter, and frostbite, independent of regular ice buildup. This is actually quite nice. This means that the characters who have less anomaly contributions, like a Sukaku, will not be factored into the frost anomaly calculation. Then, after applying frostbite, a buff that increases crit damage after freeze, Miyabi will instead apply frostburn, a unique subclass of attribute anomaly that will deal 1500% of Miyabi's attack and debuff the enemies for 20% anomaly buildup under this state. However, if you were to trigger another attribute anomaly, frostbite, and thus frostburn will end. Alongside this frostburn anomaly, Miyabi has a stacking mechanic called the Fallen Frost that involves her charge attack, the Shimotsuki. You can hold down the attack button at intervals of 2, 4, and 6 to deal certain tiers of enhanced basic slashes, with the 6 and fully charged version dealing upwards of 4,000 damage and 567% days. Incredible! We'll chat more about how to interweave her basics, specials, chains, and factoring in the core passive in the combat breakdown. But for now, that will wrap up the kit overview. It's time for... Now let's get to the build breakdown, arguably the single reason y'all are here. Now let's start with her W engine options. Oh, is there gonna be any more? Is there gonna be any more W engines? Any more W engines out there? Huh? No. Oh, so, any one of you? No. As you can see, Miyabi's signature Hailstorm Shrine stands above all other alternative options for 2 particular reasons. Reason A, the passive Frost Stained Star is absolutely busted with extra crit damage up front and increased ice and frost damage, in the case up to 2 times for 15 seconds. And B, that this is the only crit anomaly W engine in existence, so grabbing the weapon is almost a must. But this means you don't have to rack your brain with choices. Yet, if you would like to save some money, I guess Fusion Compiler with Pen and Piper's Roaring Tides with its double attack stat can help. And hey, I also heard that there was an F2P event W engine that was available during 1.4, so if it is for Miyabi, make sure to grab it if you're really set on, again, saving money and not grabbing the signature. The damage calcs aren't even close, with most of the other options ranging within the 80th percentile, which technically with Fusion Compiler the damage could match, but you can't always maintain the full stacks, and the damage calcs that have been done usually account for the highest end potential. Next is Miyabi's drive discs, and Jshoea was really really intent on making Miyabi so special. So special that she's getting her very own dedicated set. The design and the descriptions are just so blatant. They're not trying to hide that this one is made for our Fox Siren, the Branch and Blade song. This 4-set will be your best choice. The bonuses are conveniently set up so that you'll need at least 115 points of Anomaly Mastery, which is great because Miyabi's base is a simple 116. Just right above the threshold. This means that she'll be able to utilize the 4-set bonus to increase her crit damage to a max 46% and crit rate of 12% alongside a plus 6% from a 2 Woodpecker. Other set options like the 4-set Woodpecker over just by swapping the other 2 sets mentioned above yield some okay results, around 10 to 50% loss in DPS, which is more dependent on your substats. Polar Metal is just not as competitive either, yet if you're going to transfer your cracked Ellen Joe drives over to her, as long as you, again, have the weapon, you should be alright. The 4-slot of her drive system, Miyabi will want crit rate main to touch around 80% crit rate. The 5th slot can be a toss-up between ice versus attack and pen, depending on your support options. 6th slot will be attack, yet I've been trying to test out Anomaly Mastery, but because Miyabi does her own thing, and she builds up Anomaly so well already, just take that attack percent main stat like a conventional offensive unit. But if you are struggling to get an attack percent in that slot, actually try out AM. Because of how strong her multipliers are, you'll still be able to keep up in terms of damage. I haven't done the full calculations, but sources say around 5 to 12% DPS loss. For substats, you'll take crit values, attack, then anomaly proficiency into pen. I would argue that attack could be more valued if you have characters like Lighter to help with percentage bonuses a bit farther along the damage calculation, but that's for you and your box to figure out. And lastly, you know how I said earlier that there'd be another reason that you wanted crit W Engine? Well, let's bring in Miyabi's core passive that increases anomaly buildup for Frost based on her crit rate up to 80%. With a 2-set Woodpecker, her signature, alongside the 4-set main stat, you should be able to cleanly get there. However, if you are missing one of these, you're going to find yourself building up Frost less, dealing less damage, and just overall having a slightly muckier experience with her. So make sure to prioritize 80% plus crit rate, and then however much of the other offensive stats you can min-max in. Here's a look at the full build guide for Miyabi. You can pause here because I am also going to show you in a little bit the farm guide for Miyabi following this. Please take either of these from our community Discord and Twitter too. Make sure to follow those outlets for more shenanigans from your lead proxy. That's me. And here we go onto the combat and team building guide. First, let's start to pinpoint her main core aspects of her kit that we'll want to focus on. First will be her charge attack mechanic, making sure that we're swapping or assisting into a Miyabi that is ready or can get ready with her 6-stack charge attack will be key to having the quick front-loaded burst of damage. How the charges work is that you can either A, use the EX special, will grant you 2 stacks, B, using the ultimate will grant you 3 stacks, C, activating Frost will grant you 1 stack, and D, if you have additional core passive, you can gain 2 stacks from Disorder. So let's say that you're using a team of Miyabi, Yanagi, Sukaku. If you were to say switch off of Miyabi with a leftover Frostburn effect, lingering from the end of your rotation, go into Yanagi to proc Polarity Disorder and Regular Disorder with Shock, you'll end up with 4 stacks on your Miyabi to start your rotation with a 5-hit combo, get Frostburn, and move into EX, followed by your 6-stacked charge attack. After that, your burst should be ready, and you'll be able to unleash damage that even Virgil would be proud of. And after you've consumed all your stacks and exhausted Sokaku's buff, you can rotate back into Yanagi to start the process over again. With this rotation, you should be able to get at least 3 total full stacked enhanced slashes. Generally 2 is the max when considering the ultimate every turn. Something that I haven't really explored yet, but in theory should be something you're able to work in, is the swap cancel of Miyabi's 2nd charge enhanced basic at the start of the round. This will reduce your balls to 1, yet allow yourself to build up the first Frost Burn, giving your next enhanced slash extra 30% with the potential inclusion of stuns from other teammates, leading to a crazy window of damage. Other team options will be mentioned here, starting with the premier Fire Support Squad. Lighter and Lucy are disgusting supports to pair with Miyabi, and I only call Lighter a support because of its absurd 75% damage bonus to ice alongside fire. With this, you can also have much more flexible builds for Miyabi and also get into stuns super quick, which Miyabi can utilize those windows with their insane burst potential. They are truly a strong pair alongside Lucy's attack buffs. An F2P team that most folks who have been playing for the past 3 months should have is a core with Piper and Lucy. These two are a solid 1-2 punch, yet not being able to utilize the stuns that Lycan or Lutter can, these two are essentially a budget Yanagi team, and if you can proc a Disorder every other rotation, you should be able to set up an almost max Frostfall stack. And lastly, a team that I did want to explore for the purest of F2Ps is Haramasa. Although the synergy is not quite there, you can technically use Miyabi, Haramasa, and buffer support flex. You can see some pretty solid results. This is only for those who are much more true F2P, low budget players. Don't let the big whales and hardcore theory crafters shame you. I'm here for you. This team can be pretty solid, but just know how much time to give each character depending on their contributions. Here's a look at the spread of teams that I'd like to highlight, but down the road when new supports show up, you bet that Miyabi is going to want to have them back her up. And now let's start talking money. Investment values with Mindscapes with our special M6 Showcase. Miyabi's really gonna ring out our pockets because she might be another character folks will want to get extra copies of. M1 give you defense, rest, shred, and extra crit rate, allowing you to offset the need for Woodpecker, Electro, and some substats, and go into Hormone Punk or Freedom Blues, overall increasing your damage that much further. M2 will be the addition of the Frostfall stack after your full auto attack rotation. This is key because you can mix in a full auto chain after a special into 6 stack charge attack. Say that 5 times fast, and you can get into one more 2 stack charge attack, courtesy of a 1 stack auto, 1 stack from Frostburn, because you will be hitting Frostburns after that sequence of Fiery Ice. This will allow her to thus extend her rotations, extend her DPS window, and really get to the end of a lot of buffs provided by other buffers in the market, like Sukaku and Lucy. I'm afraid M2 is truly as good as most folks say, and to that notion, consider that your C2 Raiden or E2 Acheron. For those who have come from other Hoyo titles, this jump in DPS potential is something you just can't ignore. Yet, what about those who want to go further beyond? M4 is an increase to damage and decibel charge, which in all honesty is insanely strong too, as now we have separate gauges for decibels. Yes, it's pretty insane how the game is growing, listening to its community for feedback and applying it in a timely manner. But this means that the characters will be building their respective gauges, and to use your ult every rotation will most likely require that M4. You can use your ult every 1 1/3, 1/2 rotation, but that means that you get stuck setting up for said ult again. Which technically, if you do get this Mindscape, the ult grants you 3 stacks of blue balls, you do 1 auto attack rotation into E skill, and there's another 6 stacks without the need of Disorder. Oh wow! Wait, does this mean that she can go hyper carry and not rely on Yachty or Disorder to ramp? Holy cannoli, get the camera, this is cinema in the making! And finally we get to M6. If she wasn't super enough already, just like Dragon Ball, we're gonna have to make up a whole new classification for this. Ultra Void Hunter. That sounded better in my head. But TLDR, the M6 grants a new buff called Polar, and this will give you up to 30% increased damage during charge attack stance, then consume Fallen Frost to dish out the extra disgusting set of slash attacks for insane damage. Why the first part is so critical is that Fallen Frost cannot be taken off the opponent until another anomaly replaces it or the timer of the debuff runs out. This is how Miyabi is getting balance, because if that wasn't the case, AM would actually have much more significant value. But I digress. With this M6, we can now refresh the attribute anomaly and dish out another 6-digit Frost Burn with this new rotation shown here. And boy, is this absolutely disgusting! Seriously, I actually highly suggest away from pulling this, because your experience of the game will be tainted for breaking so many rules preset on base Miyabi. You can literally do anything with her now. The only con overall that I see with Miyabi is that you're going to want to spend money on her, because in order to realize her potential, she's going to want the best, and we mean the best of the best, that the game has to offer. So folks, what have you learned today? That a little Foxian Thyron with the affinity for a Cursed Blade is all it takes to drain our real-life wallets. That's it for the full guide, breakdown, and showcase of Miyabi.
Hey Josh, it seems like they haven't yet subscribed to the channel.
Man, that seems so irresponsible. And did they know that they could win a Miyabi poll session giveaway towards the end of the patch once we reach 20k?
Dang Josh, that's super sick.
Well, I want to invest into my community, so that's the least I could do. So if you enjoyed this guide, why not stick around by subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications. Make sure to click on this next video because YouTube thinks you'll like it. My name is Josh. Go forth and happy void hunting.